Welcome to this very special edition of the Daily Objective. Exceptionally special since our guest today taught most of us what it even means to be objective. And it is on the occasion of his birthday that we've invited Leonard Peikoff here to answer some questions for us about his life. So first of all, happy birthday, Leonard.
Thank you.
And I have a few super chat comments I'll just start with. Bonnie says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. My favorite of all your talks is the one on operetta. Thank you for that gift.
I almost think that too.
And Brian says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. You are a living legend. And Corey says, you are, as Ayn Rand was and still is, once in a lifetime, maybe a once in multiple lifetime intellectual, and one whose works, ideas, and lectures will be cherished and respected by others, including myself, in the same way you have cherished and respected Ayn Rand's. So it's a nice way to start.
No, then you have to bury them. You have to bury them in some Pacific islands, and when everything collapses, and 2,000 years go by, you can dig them up like you dig up Aristotle.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get going with some really hard-hitting questions, like this one from Anne Chicolella.
Can I just make
Sure.
a brief?
Of course you can. This is your event.
I want to thank you all for taking this trouble to make this. They're the UK group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're my favorite because you gave me the birthday party last time. And I appreciate it. I'm one of the few people at my age who attaches significance to birthdays and birthday cakes. So thank you very much. I can't believe my age. 88 is inconceivable to me. When I was a kid, I had a teacher who seemed to be really, really old. And I asked my mother how old he was, and she said 56. And I said, I'm never going to be 56 and look like that. If you had told me at that age that I was going to be 88, I would have said, that's ridiculous. You're just making up a lie. So it actually happened. So the other thing is that I'm going to be looking at a note occasionally because I didn't want to take all the time to think of the answers, but I scrolled them down fast, so I'm going to have to look down and decipher them sometime. That's it.
Well, you may need notes for this first difficult question from Anne. What is your favorite meal, cake, and alcoholic beverage?
I put it very briefly. The two restaurants that I most like are Ruth's Chris for steak, that's a filet mignon, what they call black and blue. In other words, raw with just the edges sauteed. And there's a great Chinese buffet here, which has Chinese and Thai and all the rest of it. And I always love to go there, and they have like about 25 choices, and you just load the plate up. And then you can do it over again. And of course, cake is birthday cake. Heavy buttercream icing, thick, several layers, each thick with buttercream icing. And they always give me, because I'm a longtime customer, a big cone full of extra icing, because I used to complain years ago there's not enough icing. So that's my answer for cake. And alcoholic beverages, I only like white. I won't drink anything brown. I've had too many experiences with people who drink that, and I can't stand the smell of it. Now, within white, at the present, it is a conflict, undecided, because I like vodka and I like tequila. And I'm having so many margaritas this day that I'm switching my preference to tequila.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can all toast you tonight with a glass of tequila. Do you drink tequila straight?
No.
Or in mixed?
I'm not
okay.
young.
Okay, so tequila cocktails.
Yeah.
And do I understand too that the same person has been making your birthday cake for a long time?
Yeah. I found them in California, and they were fabulous. And then they moved to Las Vegas. And I phoned them and said, what am I going to do? I need your birthday cake. And I had been a very good customer. And the mother of the owner was a big fan. So they said, oh, we'll bring it to you. So they make the special cake in Las Vegas and drive it here. And it's coming tomorrow between 10 and 12. And this time they say they've got a good base for it. You know, I get a huge cake, way more than the people there. And then I slice it up and keep it for the rest of the year. And I just had the last piece a couple of weeks ago from last October. I ordered the cake for 35, so it's a huge number of cakes. But last year, it was so heavy that the cake started to crack on the counter before we got to it. So they found a new base that they say will not crack, and they're coming tomorrow morning. So, and they're trying not to jiggle the car, you know.
So I have a few more super chat comments I want to read here. One from, forgive me, Falapa. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but I can pronounce that. You are amazing. Thanks so much for everything. It seems all we have to do is listen to you and have active minds. Happy birthday. Enjoy your day. Jonathan says, thanks for your work. And Fabian says, happy birthday to a world historic hero.
Thank you.
All right. So our next question comes from Don, who asks,
no, we can't.
He says after.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about the shirt. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. He says, after your operetta lecture, there was a lot of talk about your shirt.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a shirt and where do you get yours?
Okay. My overall is I want something that's young. Not something old people would wear, you know, black and brown and solid colors. I like it to have a splash of colors and have very exact definition. It can't be geometrical, you know, like triangles and circles and squares and lines, etc. And it can't be representational. I don't want pictures of dogs or mountains or anything like that. I just want a wild splash of color, of very vivid colors. Now, this is my second favorite shirt. My top favorite, I did the operetta, but I can't keep wearing that forever in public. Is that?
And where do you import these shirts? Is that right?
Yeah. I get the t-shirts from Italy. And there's wonderful catalogs for very expensive men's shirts. So you can't get very many of these in your life, but they're way over what you would pay if you went to Nordstrom.
So I wore this
because you don't wear them very often, because if you ever sweat under your armpits, you know, you're wiping out. It's like getting a huge accident with your brand new Mercedes.
I wore this dress for you. I now consider my Leonard dress because when I wore it with you, you asked if I could.
I can't see more.
You wondered if you could find a shirt in this pattern for yourself.
Wow. That's great.
So I did look around, but it turns out pink, bright pink with paisley is not common among men's shirts, but I'm still looking.
You know, the bad thing is that every once in a while I see a dress that's for a woman. It's, God, what a great shirt that would make. I don't know if that proves anything about my sexuality, but I like women wear a lot of the kind of patterns that I like in the shirt.
All right. The next question I have for you is from Stephen Shub.
Yeah.
And he asks, what was your favorite part of parenting? And then what did you find to be the most challenging part of parenting?
One at a time. I guess the first thing that occurs to me is the moment that Carol was born. And in the hospital, while her mother was she had a cesarean, was being sewed up, etc. They put me in the bonding room where it's just you and the baby for like 10 or 15 minutes. And she lay there in the bonding room, and I put my hand to her, she grabbed my thumbs and went to sleep. And that was a really, really special. One of the most, maybe the most emotionally exciting experience I ever had. And I felt at that time transformed. And now I've got someone that's part of me that I'm going to look after and protect forever. And even more than I felt for a dog. I'm just kidding. What else? Oh yeah, I got, believe it or not, from Hillary Clinton, that was in the newspapers, the importance of talking to your child from day one, although he doesn't have any idea what you're talking about, but not just talking aloud, looking right at him and speaking to him with the idea he gets the concepts of communication. And they found that the more the parent talks, the more intelligent the kid gets to be. And it doesn't make any what you say. I used to tell her the laws of logic and what is the difference in metaphysics. And she just looked at me. I carried her around and never stopped talking, which is easy for me to do. And I really enjoyed showing her the world while talking nonstop. I loved holidays. We exploited every holiday. I had Santa Claus in his costume and everything come to visit. He charged a lot too. And he sat on a chair and put her in his lap and asked her all the things that she wanted. She was so excited. And I took her to Disney World and Disneyland. We loved that. And the big thing there that I remember, well, that I enjoyed, we finally got to Orlando after a massive transcontinental thing with a group of other people. And I saw what seemed like a nice ride. So I wanted to go in. And she was, I don't know, young, 6 or 7, something. And she said, I don't want to go. I said, but you have to go. We drove across the country. You're going to have to do it. She said, I'm not going to go. So I said, well, I'm going to make you go then. So I picked her, pushed her onto the chair and into the ride and grabbed her. And she was crying. And she said, I'm going to cry all the way through this ride because I don't want to see it. I don't want to be here. And so I said, it's too bad. You have to do this one. So the ride took place. And as soon as it was over, she said, again, Daddy. So she loved it, but I think those things were funny. And I never forget. I loved watching the achievements. Now she can do this and now she can do that. And when she first started to write papers for school and have a social life and so on. We used to play, I could go on with this forever, but I like playing games with her, except that she always said again, Daddy, at the end. But our favorite game, we'd go to her bedroom, her and me. And I wanted her to go into literature because I thought art and specifically writing was it, but I was never going to tell her that, or push her in any way. But we started to play a game where we were telling a story, but I said one sentence and then she said the next. And then I had to continue the story back and forth like that. And we went on for 20, 30 minutes and she loved that game and I loved playing it with her. So that's about as much as I want to say now, but it was a continual pleasure and delight. Now you say the most challenging, the first and major thing that comes to me is sleep. For years and years when she was young, I remember, we would alternate nights, but I remember how many times I sat on the couch at 3, 4, 5 in the morning holding her. She was sleeping and I was watching the late show. And I was always tired for a long time because I never got enough sleep. I always thought that nature made a mistake, that a child should be the result of an orgy, not of a couple, because then you'd have 4 or 5 people to look after her so you could, take a spell. That's why we never had a second child. The other thing most challenging is worry. If she's going out and she's still young, there's crazy people on the street or the unpredictable things like, when, she was always in her crib and you always knew where she was. And it was the 4th of July and I came in to get her and she wasn't in the crib. I couldn't think what that could have happened. We started running around the house and she was in the kitchen. I said, how did you get this? She just figured out she wanted to get out. That's it. She had enough of the crib. So she picked Independence Day as the day, but you worry if she gets sick and stuff like that. So there is that negative side. There's a great book for people who want to think about this called A Baby Baby, which I read in advance. And one part is all the great things, and one part is all the bad things. And I waited and I said, okay, I think the great things are better, but sleep was one of the bad things. So that came true, but it was even better than the book said.
Thank you very much. I'm particularly glad that you decided to have a baby. I'm very fond of the result of that.
She's such a wonderful person. Now she's got a completely full life, a great husband and two beautiful kids and a job and an art form, she's very pretty. So I'm very proud.
She's special. I've got a few other comments here. Kirk says, Ayn Rand showed me how to live. Leonard Peikoff taught me how to think. Thank you for all your books and courses. They helped me to be the man I am today. Ram says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff, love from India.
Wow.
And Dennis says, happy birthday, Leonard Peikoff. Your lectures have given me so much strength. When I listened to them, I felt like you were saving me from drowning in a big ocean where I was lost. My appreciation.
Dennis from the one I know. What's his last name?
I probably am actually mispronouncing it. It may be Denis, because this came from Europe. My appreciation for you is hard to describe, but believe me, it's truly astronomic. Happy birthday, legend again.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Did you have a favorite book as a kid?
Well, this will be of some interest to you. I didn't read books at all, except absolutely compulsory for school. Basically until I read one book, and then my mother at that point said, why don't you read The Fountainhead? And she said, it's a little hard to get into, but it's a great book. And then when she met Ayn 20 years later, I told Ayn that story, and she said, Leonard, how could you say that? Because at the beginning, anyway, I loved The Fountainhead. And then Ayn gave me a whole list of books to read, and then from then on. But what I did read as a child, a lot, as comic books. I had huge collections of Superman, Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, Archie. You just go on. I had huge stacks of them. I had bookcases full of them. And I found out after I left home that they were worth a fortune because of their vintage for collectors. And I called my mother immediately and said, save those comic books. She said, oh, Leonard, I threw them out when you left home. So anyway, I just didn't know anything about the intellectual world. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anybody who was intellectual. I was a middle-class Canadian. The idea of ideas just didn't exist. I have millions of relatives, and you can never discuss philosophy with any of them. And whatever you said, if they asked anything or said anything philosophically, who knows and what's the difference? So I didn't think of reading it. Nobody gave me an idea what to read. I'm not blaming them, but I did find comic books, and I kept on through early teens. And then the first book was the one that was about Reagan losing his leg. Where's the Rest of Me, that movie? I read the book. Well, you don't know that. But anyway, then the next was fun. So if that surprises you,
A little bit.
That's the truth.
It makes me wish I could go back in time and teach literature to the young Leonard Peikoff.
That would have been wonderful. That would have been fabulous.
That would have been a thrill for me. A few more comments here. Adam says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff, love from Canada.
Wow. Yeah.
Steve says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. Thank you for all your work. And Kirk says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. Thank you for all the amazing work you've done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So next we have a question from Jonathan, who asks, what brings you joy these days?
Well, I don't think it's anything very profound because I stopped working. I can't talk to Ayn Rand. Those are the two great joys. Well, a few others I'm not going to mention. But right now, today, my pleasures come from operetta, from sweet foods, especially birthday cake, from good fiction and current fiction, because the older fiction is too much work for me now. Reading is too much work, but I like reading more easy current fiction, and there is some good. But the last thing I thought of, which might surprise you, very recently, I started to listen to, I can't use her name because she'll start to talk, Alexa. If you say her name, she comes on strong, so I can't use it, but she has every kind of music. So I started to listen to the music that was popular in the 40s when I was growing up. I just came across the band saying, oh, that one. And then I started to research and I now have a real favorite. So if you ever want to hear it, this is a group that I really like called the Kingston Trio. There were three men that were, harmonizing the three, and they were very, very good. And they have some really clever songs. And to me, popular music depends very much on the lyrics, not just the music. It has to have a good beat and good lyrics. I want a melody, but I like to listen to, and they have some of the most brilliant lyrics ever. They have one song called To, T-O, space, Moral, M-O-R-O, which is where they're going. So they go to the station and to get a ticket, and they say, we want to go tomorrow. I said, sorry, the trains are all gone. They won't be back tomorrow. And it's all a play on that. It ends up, I have to buy it last night in order to get there yesterday. But all in a lot, it's like Who's on First, if you know that Abbott and Costello, but it's in a song. Very clever. But the one I most like is called the MTA. So if you ever want to hear what's one of my favorite songs growing up, and it's not philosophical at all, but it's the Kingston Trio playing MTA. And it's a story of what happens to a guy on the subway when they raise the fare when he's still in the car. It's really, really clever and enjoyable. And it's in the form of a campaign speech. So it's completely unique. So I recommend. Now, if you don't like it, don't blame me. It's not philosophical. It's not profound. It's not great music, but I liked it a lot. So there was one other one I liked by Frankie Lane, who was one of my favorite singers, called The Little Boy and the Old Man. And the little boy asked questions about life and why are things the way they are and so on. And the old man, Frankie Lane, came back with his answers. All very well worded with a nice melody. It's a tragic song, but I wasn't against tragedy. I'm still not. So if you ever want to hear that, those are my two favorite from the time I was growing up. Okay.
Great. Thanks for the introduction to something to look into and just modeling your enthusiasm for us again. That's inspirational on itself.
Yeah.
I understand. A couple more messages here. We have a message from Sutherland saying, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. Being able to hear your lecture courses on tape during my college years was like having access to an oasis of a lost civilization in the desert of modernity.
Well,
and Hamad says, thank you for the great value you've given me. Happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff.
Thank you.
And our next question is from Mary Aline, who asks, what extracurricular activities did you participate in high school?
Thinking about an oasis, I decided I would agree. Well, I never played chess. I didn't even know how to play chess. We debated, but it was not enough to be considered an activity. I played tennis a little, but not in the league. I did that only later in life. And later in life, I wasn't good, but I was better at my climactic achievement. This is not part of the question, but I have to tell you. My climactic achievement was the doctor told me you cannot play, that was golf. You cannot play golf anymore because you can't switch and, torque your back. But I was on a vacation, it was actually in Fiji, and they had a 9-hole golf course, and I decided, I'm going to play one last game and never again. So I played my ordinary, junkie, sub-average way, and we got to the 9th hole, and that was it. It was a 9-hole golf course. It was up on a cliff, and it was a big lake, and then over that was the hole. So, so you had to take a incline, but you had to decide is it a 7 iron or a 9. So I took a 7 to be sure I got there. And I said, this is the last time I'll ever do it. And I just whacked at it as hard as I could. And it went up, you couldn't see anything. So I felt it was a good shot. And we got to the green, and there was nothing in front, to the right, to the left, even behind. This is really weird. It wasn't that bad a shot. There was no splash, so it couldn't have gone in the lake. And then from the house where the pro functions, he came out toward us going like that. And I said, we couldn't figure out, why are you doing that? He went to the hole and picked it up. I had got a hole in one. The first and only time that ever happened. It's a good thing that I never golfed again, because I could never have dreamed. I usually get a hole in 6. So if I believed in God, I would say that was his vacation present, because there was nothing in my golf that could have done that. Oh, now we're doing extracurricular activities. So see, there's not much I can say.
Oh, but you have to.
I was the brain. I can tell you one extracurricular activity. Not really an activity, but I was away from school. I was sick or something. And the rest of the kids decided to nominate me for president of the class. And they did it as a big joke, because I was more or less a nerd. I don't think many people liked me, but they decided they were going to play that trick. So I came back, I was already on the calendar, the list to run for president. So we made a few speeches. It was just a joke, because I knew I wasn't that popular. And then the election was held, and he won. It was a big sports character, player. But they told me he won, but you got most of the girls' vote. So I thought, well, that's okay. I'd rather have that than win and have all the boys vote. So I can't give you much. I was called in class by the others the brain. And that's basically how they saw me. Very intelligent and so on, but I wasn't one that, I don't think you would have liked me in high school, but that's the way I was. And then Ayn Rand transformed me completely. Turned me, completely.
A few more comments here. Michael says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. Thank you for making so many complex issues make sense to me with your lectures. Your rationality is inspiring. Thank you. I can't wait to read the ominous parallels.
He hasn't read
that. Jonathan says, happy birthday. Your 76th lecture Q&A with Ayn Rand is gold. And
that was, yeah.
And Neil says, happy birthday, Dr. Peikoff. I used to be a huge rationalist. You taught me to think. You are the one I admire the most in my life. Thank you so much for everything you have done. Please live long.
Did I ever tell anybody that, I don't know if this is relevant for, no, I guess not, because this is philosophy. But someday, I'll tell you in essence, the way I discovered rationalism is I used to give Ayn a chapter at a time, and how she would tell me what she thought of it. And I gave her one which I thought was really good. And I came to, visit her and find out what she thought of it. She said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Why did you write this? Oh my God, I thought this was good. And it turned out, she said, she actually said at one point, if you do stuff like that, I don't see how we can work together. So I was panicked. And I kept telling her, we have to find out why. And so little by little between us, we figured out, and that was rationalism. And I went home and I typed out, I think it was about 75 typed pages of what it was and all the things that is involved in rationalism. And then for a couple of years, she had to point out or I would see it. And after a while it became automatic and then it stopped coming to me. But that was really the most traumatic experience I could ever imagine. So I think that answered all I have to say.
I think that, yeah, thank you for that story. And we're going to go straight from your profound discovery of
I
rationalism.
should have put that in. That's philosophy.
I think the audience will be content to hear those sorts of answers. But we're going to go straight from that into what are your top 3 Hollywood movies?
Well, honestly, in direct memory, the only one that I'm really passionate about, which I've discussed and had, so I'm not going to go into it again, is Whiplash. I still love that movie. I saw it 8 times in the movie theater while it was still on. And I've explained why. To me, that's a biography of me. He was in jazz drumming and I was in philosophy, but our lives were parallel, except he was a huge success at the end. But a lot of the things he went through, I did. And I thought it was very well done. Now, for the others, it happened so long ago that I can't remember throughout my life. I could just come up with 2, which I like, which I'm sure are not the real answer, but so all the rest since that time, these are things I saw when I was young. You have remote memory when you're old, but you don't have recent memory. So the 2 spectaculars in my day were The Wizard of Oz, which I really liked. I love Judy Garland. I always did. And to this day, I think she's the best popular singer of all. And the whole world in the fantasy world. And then I loved Gone with the Wind, which was, a huge, but what really impressed me, that was the first movie I ever saw that had an intermission. And that made it so classy. And in the intermission, we all went out and talked what's going to happen. It was really an exciting event. So I don't know so much, although I've read her novel, I think I actually read it twice. I really enjoyed it. But I remember that movie, the surprise when we had a movie with an intermission that really, so maybe that's what I'm remembering. So if you gave me an entire list of all the movies in history and had enough time, I could tell you which ones I like, but they're all gone now. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Mary Aline says, Dr. Peikoff, you're a brilliant lecturer and a joy to listen to. And our next question came to me from your daughter. She asks, what's something you have done that might surprise people? Something they might think is out of character for this serious intellectual.
I did something, but I was not going to reveal it until I was dead. I had a neighbor right directly next to me named Tom, and he had a great big yard. He has the biggest yard in Irvine. And he set up a whole performing equipment. He had a stage in this outdoor yard and lights and sound and camera. And he would have parties in which all the people that are coming had to do, for instance, a song from Broadway, from a Broadway musical, and had all different categories. So I picked a song and then you had to enact it. So I did that twice in my life. I'll give you the second one first because the other is the climax. The second one I did was from a Western country singer called Mac Davis. Do you remember that? And the song I chose was, It's Hard to Be Humble. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble because I'm perfect in every way. And I did that one and I enjoyed that. But the one that is, I don't know, shocking. I like Guys and Dolls is my favorite musical. In fact, pretty much my favorite Broadway play. And there was a song in there, which when they did it, I had just come from Winnipeg and my hair stood and I couldn't believe that people did this on the stage. And always struck me, it's so fantastic. This is America, not Canada. And it was, these chorus girls that had a whole line. They were all dressed in furs and pearls and everything, but they were all mad at that point because the guys were giving them all these gifts and then expecting them to sleep with them. And it was just a come on, and they found that out and they were outraged. And so the song was, take back your mink, and then they threw the mink on the floor. Take back your pearls, and they threw that. And it kept going down to just a bathing suit. It was all, rhymed into music. And I always liked that, so I decided I would do that. And so I got, not exactly that, but men's clothes that you could take off fast. But I always had a bathing suit on at the end. And I got a lovely girl who was blonde, very pretty blonde, to do it with me. So I didn't look like I was a maniac. So they started to play it, and we did it all the way through. And the only thing that made it possible for me to do it was that Tom had a huge barrel of Long Island iced tea, which he knew I liked. And you just turned the tap and it filled up again. I was very nervous about, performing this way. And I had several Long Island iced teas. So I wasn't inhibited. You could see I was high, or perhaps more than high. And you certainly wouldn't have expected that of me. And now he still has the video audio of that performance, of both performances. So I've given them to Kira with the absolute injunction that she can't see them until I'm dead. So she's got them there and she's going to play them. But you wouldn't have expected that, right? Is that enough of an answer?
I think that'll do. I was envisioning what this videotape would go for auction or if there were an opportunity.
Destroy my reputation once I get it.
Okay. Next question, also from Kira, is who would you invite to a dinner party if you could pick 3 people, dead or alive?
All I can do, I didn't think about this. I just spit it out right away.
Okay.
Aristotle, Ayn Rand, and Jackie Mason. Because I think he's a huge, you don't know him, but he's a hugely funny Borscht Belt comedian that I saw him several times. He has a one-man show on Broadway and just laughed from the beginning to end. Now, of course, he wouldn't mix with them, but that's who I thought it would be a good mix, So I'm not serious, but that's only 3.
That sounds like an entertaining dinner. Okay, so next we have a question from Seth Levine, which is, what was your second choice of profession behind philosophy professor?
Well, let me tell you that story. I didn't know anything till I was 20 about what I was going to be. And I couldn't figure out. And I talked to Anne once about it, and she said, well, you might make a good lawyer because you're very good at argument. You would be good at cross-examination and so on. She didn't push me or anything. She just tossed that out as a possibility. And I said, no, I'm not interested in that. All I knew is that I liked talking about philosophy. I'm not sure I even knew the word philosophy at that time, but I liked that type of question. And then I discovered that there was a career talking about philosophy. And I remember I said, you mean they pay you to talk about philosophy? And that set the deal. So I had no second career. I was very late coming to a career.
The next question from Seth is,
I wanted to feel about it like Rourke did, but I couldn't figure out what it could be.
Seth's follow-up question was, what professional accomplishment are you most proud of?
I would say it all stems from my first night with Ayn Rand. All the things I'm most proud of are not the books, but what made it all possible. And that, to me, was an evidence, if I can boast, of a very unusual and philosophical mind. The first night I met her, I understood that this was, and I was 17. I was ignorant of everything. I understood from what she was saying that this is something unprecedented and there'll never be anything like this. And therefore, that's where my life is going to be centered. I don't know if you ever know this story, but I came with a question because my father always said, You have to choose between being moral and being practical. And I always thought that's impossible, but he would say, well, you got to be practical, but if you're practical, you have to do things that you don't want to do. Even if you think they're bad, you have to do it. I used to fight that, but I didn't have any idea of the answer. So my first question, when I went to meet on, I was very nervous and I was hesitant to go into the door. I thought, because I'm ignorant and everything. And all I knew was I read the fountain. So went in there and I was afraid, I'm never going to speak, I said to myself. And I sat on the couch with all these other people. And they started to chat about the weather, you know, how was the drive from LA and so on. I thought to myself, this is the only time I'm ever going to meet her. And they're talking about the weather. So I waited for the first pause. They told me later that it was 2 minutes after we sat down. And I said, well, let's get down to business in the midst of these people. And she wanted to know, what's the business? So I asked her that question. Well, did you intend Rourke to be moral or practical? So she took me aside. She ignored the rest of the company. She gave me a 10-minute answer. And I got, oh, that's wonderful, thank you. She said, no, wait. And then she said, when you talk to people, these are the objections you're going to get, and these are the answers. Oh, she was already 20 minutes away from the other guests. So I got up and said, she said, wait. And they said, 10 more minutes on what thinking errors I had made that I didn't know the answer myself. I was completely blown away. I'd never heard anybody like that. Not just her serious, passionate commitment, but that she could express herself like that and could come in from every possible area. I was absolutely overwhelmed. So I got from the very beginning, that's one thing that I'm very proud of, that, I can't even find the question now. No, you didn't put it on here. What is the question I'm answering?
That's the question about
What are
the
you
professional.
proud of? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't find my answer, but in essence, it was understanding, not her whole philosophy, but getting that she was revolutionary and that's what's going to be my life. And in that very evening, I thought to myself, how did she put it all together? Because she was brilliant in so many different ways, and there must be something connecting, but I don't know what it is. And I made right at that night, my life project. I have to be able to present everything that she says in order, not just, flashes of brilliance and genius, which is what I got, but I knew there had to be some logic to it. And that finally ended up as OPAR, 30, 40 years later, but I decided on that project. And the other thing I'm proud of, and I think this qualifies as a professional, is that I decided as I left her, nothing is ever going to be the same in my life, nothing. And I got to the hotel where I was staying and I was washing my hands. I thought, I got to find a different way because this is the way I always wash my hands. But, so it was silly, exaggerating, just a kid. But that was the feeling that I always had after her, that this is a different world, a different universe. This is reality and nothing else made any difference. So I wanted to live in that world. So I give myself, and that's all professional, because without that, I would have had no profession. So that I'm most proud of, that I got it, and then I did it all at 17 on the first meeting. And I would have thought I was, I was the brain, but, I could do algebra and all that stuff like that. So that's my answer to that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I know everyone here is very grateful that you made that your ambition.
Well,
and this super chat comment fits well here. Thank you, Dr. Peikoff, for everything you do. You are the greatest teacher I've ever had. As a teacher myself, your writings and works have been indispensable. That's from Sean. And our last question today is from me. My question is, I had the pleasure of meeting Alice twice, who I know was very dear to you. Do you want to share a little more about her and what drew the two of you together?
Well, she had an accident and died, so it's difficult for me. But on the other hand, I really loved her. And I like to talk about her. it's so hard to capture a whole person, in a few comments. I've jotted down a few things. I think that one thing you should know about her is the way I met her. I was living in this home, for retired elderly people. And she was, by the way, 13 years older than me. So when we started going out, I was 84 and she was 97. You never knew it. You absolutely couldn't tell. There was a cocktail party that they gave every Monday. And I had gone twice and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. So, I would say a word, they would nod, but they were all in their cliques. So I stood on the edge of the third time between the cocktail party and the elevators back to the room. And I was right in the middle. And I just stood there. I said, should I try again? No, I should go home. And she came up to me. We hadn't been met, but she knew my name. She said, Leonard, where are you going? And I said, well, I don't know. And at that moment, she grabbed me and started dragging me across the dance floor, pushed me into a couch, pulled a chair up and said, now tell me all about yourself. And that was Alice. She was very forthright. If she wanted something, not that I'm comparing her to Ein, but Ein got her husband by tripping him on the movie set. And she got me by dragging me across the room. So that is a typical thing about her from the very beginning. She was a very natural person and she was very free with her emotions. She was funny. She was loving. She could get angry and tell you what she thought of somebody. She was completely emotionally internally alive. 97 sounds ridiculous, but you could never, ever have told that. She had had a big career in Washington. She knew 5 or 6 presidents just having met, because she founded a gym to which the wives of senators and cabinet members would go, and then she would teach them how to, stay in shape, etc. It was very popular. She stayed for years doing that. And another point I jotted down, she was very independent. She had her interests and her conclusions, and that was it. But I showed, for example, an example of independence, which I didn't always like, but I appreciate it. We would have a date, and then she would call me half hour before the date. This is often, but it did happen. She said, I can't make it tonight. I said, why? She said, I just found out that UCLA has played basketball tonight, so I have to watch the game. So I thought that was cute, but also sometimes I felt I'm more important. But, she said, watch it with me. I said, I can't. I don't like it. So, the only other thing I can think to tell is she liked the story of, she was a Christian, and she liked the story of the 3 wise men. And she said she's giving a party for the 3 wise men, a large party. We're all at a huge table. And she said, tell me what you would have to say about the meaning of the 3 wise men. You know that story. And I didn't have a clue, so I looked it up on the computer, search engine and everything, and I found out it had a philosophic meaning: the internationalism of Christianity, the 3 wise men, etc. So it was all done as a story to concretize philosophy. Then she told me, and then before the party, she said, now tell me what you're going to say. So I told her, she said, no, I don't want that. I want the story of the 3 wise men. I said, well, that's the story. That's what it means. She said, okay. And we went to the party, and then she got up to say, welcome to the 3 wise men. And she said, now I want to tell you what the 3 wise men mean to me. Now, Leonard says I'm all wrong. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that. So the other thing I can think of is to be asked the question, well, if she was Christian and you were an atheist, wasn't that a big issue? Now, for instance, she told me when we first started out, if you weren't a conservative, I would never have gone out with you. You had to be, the way I am politically. And I asked her one day, you said that, but you never said religion, and you know I'm an atheist, and you're a Christian. Why didn't that bother you? It didn't bother me because I never saw any sign of it except for her words. And she said, oh, I didn't bother about you saying you're not a Christian. You're the best Christian I ever met. And she took it, you know, as meaning morality, being a good person here on life. So we never had any problem about that. Never hid anything from her. We just didn't argue about it. There is such a thing as you agree to disagree, you know. We've gone a long time. So that's the most I can say. You have to meet her. Everybody's amazed. When she was 99, I was planning this huge party and get a ballroom and a band and, you know, the whole thing. And she said, I just want a table here with my close friends. So we were arguing, and I was trying to make arrangements, and then she had this accident and died. So it was a horrible ending, but I'll never forget her. Never. I've got pictures of her all over the house. I said, take one down and show it to you, but you can't see a picture from here, can you?
Sure, if you wanted to.
It's a big picture. It's on the wall.
Can it come off the wall?
Yeah, I'm going to do that, but I don't know if I can get it on the computer. Can you see it?
Yes. Hold it a little close, a little higher.
Is that okay?
Yes, we have some reflection, but we can see it. Maybe you can share it with me and I can share it with people.
Okay. But anyway, I really love this. Now, do you have any more?
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I feel like we've all been given a gift in honor of your birthday. So thank you for
you know,
that.
The gift that Kira gave me, she gave me a really surprising, lovely gift. She said, come to the computer. I said, you have a gift on the computer? She said, yes. So she had a link and she clicked it. And she and Matt came on wishing me a happy birthday. And I thought that was really nice. And then the two grandchildren came on, you know, so I thought, oh, that's really nice. So I was ready to leave. She had contacted more people than I knew that she even knew that I knew. And she had emailed all of them, people from high school, you know, it was, you know, how many, 7 decades ago. And people that I, you know, went to dinner with, that I had met later, and art, and everybody you can imagine, maybe a dozen, 15 different people. And each of them, she had made a clip for my birthday, and then she played it one after the other, all some part of this tape. It was really very touching. I was amazed. How could she collect all these people? She said, I just tell them to make a clip and send it back. So it was really nice. I saw that guy who was my close high school friend. We talked on the phone every once in a while. I'd never seen him. And I remember him as this tall, you know, good looking, athletic type. And then I see this old man, you know, has not much hair. He said, hi, Leonard. Is that rich? I couldn't believe it. You know, she had to tell me who it was. I couldn't recognize him. So I assume he thinks that about me. But, it was really a touching present.
I don't think you've aged as long as I've known you. So there's some superpower there. Well, thank you so much. And happy birthday. I know everybody here wants to wish you a happy birthday. And I hope it continues to be wonderful and that there are many, 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 many more to come.
Well, I'm 88, so Katie made it to 15, my daughter. She's supposed to die at 14. So unfortunately, she's not very well right now. She held out. It's 105 in her year. So. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Leonard.
Now, I don't know how to turn this off. Can you turn it off?